지난 한 달은 주식시장이 안 좋았어요. 무슨 일이죠? 계절적 요인 때문인가요?
This is the weekly chart of the SP 500. Seasonality wise, the second half of September, the first half of October, that 1 month window is typically a bearish time in the markets. And we have seen that when we zoom in here. This is the weekly chart. The last 4 bars have been down. We might have still a little bit more weakness here, but overall, we are, I think, going to be primed and ready for what could be a very exciting and bullish close to the year if the stock market can get traction. And the reason I bring that up is when we look at this big picture here, the chart pattern has got a very nice formation where it has formed a rounding bottom. It's had a very strong rally to the upside. And from a technical standpoint, I like a complex, they call it a complex correction. It's an ABC or a 3-wave correction, which is A, B, and then C. And it's this C wave down that breaks this previous pivot low that flushes the market out. In the last 2 weeks, we have seen lots of panic selling across the stock market. Shares are just being dumped across the board. You could argue it's seasonality wise. We have had the Fed come out, talk about rates staying up or going higher. I mean, all of these things are more or less short-term bearish on the markets. But this 3-wave correction is what cleanses the market of weak investors, meaning they're panicking out, and those shares are all landing in the hands of new traders, new investors who are comfortable at this price, who want to hold things going forward. So this is kind of a cleansing. And if this is a bull flag pattern or a pennant formation that's kind of forming, we could see another very big move up going into the end of the year, which seasonality wise, as you know, is a very strong quarter for the markets. And maybe we're going to come up to the 2022 highs. Maybe we're going to blast through those. It's going to be very interesting to see where we go. So, I mean, just to kind of clarify, short-term wise, we are in a downtrend right now. But if this weekly chart gets traction, we could have a very strong rally and could be a very different picture by the end of the year.
분석 프로세스가 흥미로운데요. 단기 분석과 장기 분석의 차이점을 설명해 주시겠어요? 즉, 이 차트를 보면 단기적으로 하락 모멘텀을 보이지만 언젠가는 반전될 것이라고 어떻게 판단하고 결론을 내릴 수 있지요?
Yeah, so the long-term chart pattern here is fairly bullish. The overall trend is up. The moving averages are moving up. And this is a controlled pullback when you look at it from a weekly standpoint. It's still above kind of key moving averages. But if we were to drop to the daily chart, which shows much more near-term volatility, I'll just clear this chart a bit here. We are making, momentum-wise, we've got the moving averages are now sloping down, our shorter-term moving averages. We do have lower lows and lower highs, and you put those together, and the moving averages are a good way to tell you which way the trend is going. If they're trending down, the trend is most likely down. So when the moving averages are falling, price is making a series of lower highs and lower lows. That is an indication that you're in a downward channel or a falling market. And until those change, for a short-term trader, you still need to be bearish. You need to be on the sidelines or being very defensive here because the market could continue to collapse and fall very quickly. So that's kind of how I like to gauge it. The long-term chart is still, holding up, trending higher. It's in a pullback where the shorter-term chart is showing that momentum has shifted and short-term trends are down.
크리스 씨, 이 차트를 보면 단기 추세가 여전히 하락하고 있다면 포지션을 전환해야겠다고 생각하시나요? 반등에 대한 긍정적인 신호나 결정적인 신호가 나오기 전까지 숏 포지션을 유지하시겠습니까? 아니면 말씀하신 것처럼 장기 추세가 상승하고 있기 때문에 그냥 롱 포지션을 유지하면서 이 상황을 지켜보시겠습니까?
Right. So it really depends on the strategy. So our long-term investor strategy, which runs off the weekly chart, is still long because I do think the long-term charts are pointing to higher prices. Now, for our shorter-term strategy, we're sitting on the sidelines. We exited, literally, we're sitting on the sidelines, collecting interest each day and just waiting for a new opportunity. So we're not going to try and pick a bottom here. We're going to wait for the trend to change direction, start moving higher, for the moving averages to turn up. And then we're going to look at what other sectors and commodities are doing, and if money is flowing into the market again, or if it is just kind of a dead cat bounce. Sometimes there's not a lot of momentum behind the market. And when we look at majority of sectors, they are all in both a short-term and a longer-term downtrend. So there's not a whole lot of momentum in this market right now. So we need to let the market rally, and we need to see confirmation that a lot of sectors are taking part of it before we jump in. So we won't buy in at the bottom. We'll be getting in at some point once it's made a bottom and is confirming that it's in a new uptrend.
구독과 좋아요, 그리고 알림 설정은 저에게 많은 도움이 됩니다.